Welcome, friends, to this episode of the Everyday Educator Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today, whether you are just discovering the homeschool journey or if you've been on it for years and years. We're glad you're here. Delise and I are happy to welcome you today to our conversation. We think that this is a great way for families to think together and for us to get to talk together in earshot of you. So if you are excited or delighted by the conversation, you let us know. We hope that you find us on all the different platforms that exist for podcasts. We know that this community online is awesome, but we think that you'll find an even closer support group in a local classical conversations community. So you can go to classicalconversations.com and find a like-minded community near you. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Alicia, our guest. Alicia, tell our guest a little bit about your family, and then I'll let Delise do the same thing, although people kind of know her.
Sure. So I'm Alicia Clark, live in Durham, North Carolina. I'm married to my husband, Matt, of 17 years. He just reminded me that a day or two ago.
Oh,
I'm
my
to the point
goodness.
where I'm losing count of how old our marriage is. But we have 3 kids, boys who are 15 and 13, and a daughter who is 9, going on 19. And we've been in CC now. We've completed 11 years, and we've been with
Way to
CC the whole
go.
time. So, yeah, very thankful for the journey that the Lord has had us on, even though it's very different than we expected it to be. But it has just been a wonderful ride.
Isn't that always the way? The ticket that we buy is never to the ride we anticipated taking.
True.
But God is so gracious. And there are lots of dips and turns along the way, but luckily he's the safety belt. And so far, we're all strapped inside the ride. So Delise, you are getting ready to add a member to your ride. We're so excited you're able to be with us today.
Me too. It feels so surreal. And it's funny because, listeners, I'm sure you'll hear from me and I'll tell you the baby's here, etc. But we're recording ahead of time and we know you guys get that. So right now it's me and my husband, Evan, and my little guy, Leo, who is just so fun and precocious. And we're expecting another boy. So maybe boy mom times 2. And we're just really excited about it. And just some background on me, I guess. I was homeschooled through high school. I've been in these waters for a while, but I feel like I'm just now really starting to taste what it's like to homeschool.
Yes.
I've been putting in a lot, you tell your kids whatever you do in your routine and you read to them, but now he's starting to have the epiphanies and to tell me things that he's learned. And so that's been really fun. And I know I'm only on the very tip of the iceberg because of course he is 3. So anyhow, that's where I am.
So
right
wonderful.
now. Yeah.
It's so wonderful to hear those little voices when they tell you things. Or when they say, well, actually, mommy, or actually, Lolly, it's like this. Because, you guys, I have been a homeschooling mom for a long time. And my older daughter has just had her first, a baby girl, baby Gabrielle, who is 2 months old. And then I have a younger daughter who has my other 2 grandchildren, Gideon, who is 3, and Grace, who is 15 months. And so I am a happy mom to 2 beautiful, classically educated daughters who both graduated through Challenge 4 with CC, and a happy Lolly to 3 beautiful little children who keep me on my toes and I guess will continue to keep me young. I am an ardent lover of the holidays, which is what we're going to talk about today. Loving your neighbor in the holiday season. And I was excited. Like Delise said, we're taping early. So it does not feel like the holiday season here in North Carolina. But I'm happy to think about that as I swelter in place. Are you guys holiday lovers? Delise, are you a holiday happy person?
I love it. I
Okay.
love it. I'm trying to resist the urge to say I'm obsessed with it. I love a lot of the seasons of the year,
Yep.
but the holidays are so special for me. They really are, and that honestly, I think, is in large part due to the people who invested in my life over the years. When I
Yeah.
was trying to think through that, I was like, okay, well, why do you love it so much?
Yes.
Because it's
Yes.
not even necessarily that I like Christmas better than Easter or something like
Right.
that. I
Right.
loathe the cold. There are a
Yeah.
few things that make me feel less happy than being cold. So it's not
You're
the
like my
cooler
daughter
weather.
Stephanie. Yeah.
Uh-huh. But I just have so many beautiful memories attached. My family, as you guys probably have heard me say, we have a lot of traditions. And so they've always really been positive times of the year for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some more of that later. But yeah, I'm a holiday girly for sure.
Oh, that is so good. I knew I loved you for a reason. And that's only one of them. Elisa, what about you? Are you a holiday baby?
Absolutely. I absolutely love the holidays. I love Delise, you mentioned the word tradition. And I'm like, yes, that's so much the Christ-centered traditions, especially, but all of the traditions are just so special. It's so much fun coming back to those familiar things that we've done every year for a long time.
Yes.
And we just, our whole family really digs the holidays.
And I don't know if your family is like mine. My kids, anything we ever did one time that they
Yes.
loved became an
It's a
instant
tradition.
tradition. Like we did it. Well, we always do this. And I would say like, and by always, you mean that one time when we did
Yeah.
that? So, well, yes, but we have
Absolutely.
to fill in the blank. And there were, yes, I think our families are very similar. There's a lot of fill in the blank. In fact,
Yeah.
I can remember one of her friends one time said, your family has a lot of traditions. She would say, oh, we have to come home for this. She would come home from college and she would invite people to come. Well, you have to come home because we're having open house or
We
because
do
we're doing
this.
the tree decorating or because it's the progressive meal or because it's the Christmas carol. And they're like, whoa, you have a lot of traditions in your house. So that's really cool. Well, what do you love about it? Okay, I want to know because here's the truth. Although we are all three self-preserved holiday lovers, there are things about them that stress us too.
Mhm.
So I want to know some things that you love
Yeah.
and then some things that stress you about the
Definitely.
holidays. Delise, what would you say?
I think I want to end this on a high note. So I'm going to
Yeah.
get the stressors out of the way.
Yes.
And
Go,
then
girl.
I'll go to
Go,
the
go,
things
go.
that I love, right? I think, honestly, and I had to ask my husband, I said, "Hun, am I seeing myself clearly here? Because I don't want to lie on the podcast." You know,
I know,
my
right?
friends will say,
And people hear it and say,
"Remind
you
me."
don't want your mom to hear it and say, why were you saying those things, girl? Why?
Exactly. Because for the most part, I don't find them stressful, and that's just a fact.
Right.
However, there are a couple of things that in recent years I have found to be more challenging, and I have to almost like guard my heart
Yes.
against being stressed. And that would be gifting, which
Goodness.
blows my mind because I
Yeah.
love it. And I have a system. And I like most of my
Right. A
gifts are
list and
bought. I
everything.
mean, literally, I'm just like my mother. Don't go into that corner of my closet unless you want all your
Yes.
surprises
Yes.
Right.
ruined. Because
Oh, I have labeled bins in the basement that are all year long. Yep.
there you go.
Yes.
Exactly.
Under
So
my
if
bed
you,
is always off limits for my
there you
gifts.
go.
Yes. Always.
See, thank you. And if you don't have that, unlock your life, ladies.
That's
Anyway,
Save your sanity. Save your December mood. Yep.
100%. However, I think maybe I just need a new process or system or something for that other category because I have gifts planned, assigned, accruing things throughout the year for my close circle of people.
Yes.
But then when I have a very large family and I want to give to, whoever, fill in the blank,
Right.
unexpected.
Whoever you might see.
And those are the things that tend to stress me out because I don't know those people as well and I'm not
Right.
as prepared and I want them to feel just as loved. And so then I end up spending so much more time on it when I would rather do something else.
Yes.
So that's been a source of stress. And then the other thing that used to be a source of stress that is not anymore. So maybe this will be helpful.
Okay, tell us so we can all be healed.
Right. In Jesus' name. I used to be so stressed on the day of the holiday, that
Mm.
I wasn't going to get to eat the food that I want, especially as a mom. You know, you
Yes.
got to go off and feed your child, or you miss the moment or whatever, and then
Mhm.
it's gone. And again, I have a big family, so you show up and you're like, oh, it's over. Like I
Right.
just went to the bathroom for
Oh,
Yes.
10 minutes. What happened? But
Yes.
some things go quickly, etc. And you know what I learned? To make double. So, like, if I'm
Huh.
making something that I love and I want it, I just make more, and I leave half of whatever it is at my house. My mom
Yes.
now brings the sugar
brilliant.
cookies to my house, and she leaves dough at
Yes.
my house, so when I go there, I'm just as free as a bird. I'm not
That's
worried about
awesome.
the scarcity mentality, and it's so great.
That is
So,
so smart.
That's
that's helped
brilliant.
me, yeah, to not
Life
stress. And
hack right
uh-huh.
there.
Okay, that's some genius going on there. I can feel everybody making a list of things
Mm.
that must be doubled, things that
Yep.
must be
Yeah.
kept at
Mhm.
home. Okay,
If it's
that's
important for your
awesome.
husband, make him one, like, and leave it there. And
That's
then,
right.
Yeah.
don't even worry about leftovers. So that's been cool. And then briefly, things that I really just love, honestly, it's the togetherness. I think that's
Yes.
what it comes down to. I
Mhm.
love my family. I love being with them. I love, we have open holidays, so it's not just family, it's like whoever you invite.
Whoever's yes.
Uh-huh. And that's been sweet. And while I do
Mm.
love our traditions and there are certain things we do every year, it always ended up being back down to spending time together.
Yeah.
Mm.
Same room, we're
Mhm.
singing, we're playing games, we're just being a
Mhm.
family, and it's really beautiful, and I love that there's kind of a mutual agreement that that's what we do. So those times are
Mm.
protected.
Yes. That's
That's so
smart.
special.
You know, what you said is it could end up for somebody being the key. It's the mutual agreement. So, like, let's all get on the same page before we get into Thanksgiving. Because that really is the seed of conflict, unmet expectations. So let's be sure that we're all expecting the same thing of one another and of this one day. I mean, that's a very narrow 24-hour period. If you have wrong expectations, that can go easily off the rails. So that's really smart. Okay, what's the Clark holiday like, ma'am? What delights you and what stresses you?
Mm. I think my answer is going to be similar to Delisa's. Um, I think the stressors to me, I was realizing yesterday, thinking through this,
Uh-huh.
it's almost like there's a tension. Um, and I think it partly has to do with my viewpoint as well as what
Ooh,
reality ends up being like.
yeah.
But there's a tension between this materialistic pressure of
Mhm, mhm.
stuff, of buying stuff, especially for the kids.
Yeah.
And yet, on the flip side of it, the desire to give generously and thoughtfully and bring
Yes.
joy and
Yes.
delight to my kids because I love
Yes.
them. And so
Yes.
there's this, where do we land that perspective both in my own heart, and so that even the hunt to plan the gifts is a delight,
Yeah.
and also how do we foster in our house the understanding that we give gifts because the greatest gift has been given to us, and we give in light of his lavish love for us. Everything that we give to each other is just a little whisper of God's big love. And so I think there's that tension there with gift giving. And then I feel like there's also a stressor in the tension about time, because as my kids get older, like there are so many. I mean, I'm so thankful that CC takes a hard break for in our community for the whole
Yes,
month of
we do
December.
too. Yeah.
Well, I guess challenge usually leaks into the beginning of December a little bit, but that's okay. But we take a good break from homeschool, but then we've got the church staff Christmas party. We've got the CC moms nights, which are precious to me. We've got maybe caroling with our small group,
Sure.
and so many wonderful good things
Yeah.
easily fill up the time. And then we have our own family bucket list of things that we just want to do together as a family, and it's all great, but we also need rest,
Yeah.
and we need the margin
Yeah.
to be able to change plans a little or give a
Yeah.
little more or notice needs around us and address those too, which leaks into the loving your neighbor part that I know we'll chat about. But I just was thinking, like, it's a stressor sometimes to balance the busyness and good things with the let's not over plan.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know?
actually exactly what I wanted to kind of pick y'all's brains about. What's tricky about the holidays for your family? And you touched on it, but I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. The tricky parts of the holidays, expectations, because you've got yours, your personal ones, and your kids have theirs, and then your family. But then sometimes his family and your family have expectations. And what do you do with those? And then there's the schedule, the busyness of the schedule, and what you were saying, Alicia, keeping the focus right. And then, well, I do want us to talk at some point. There are challenges sometimes with family encounters, relatives maybe that you don't see very often, and always at high stress moments. The holidays can be high stress moments. If you're only going to see these people once or twice a year, you want to make a good impression. And so you got your kids all stressed out about how they're going to act. And then, one family believes this way and one family believes this way. And what's a family to talk about? know? So let's talk. What are the tricky things? Delise, are there any tricky things about the holidays for your family?
Definitely. I think right now, and just for context, okay, so I'm in my 11th year of marriage. So we've been together for like
Yes.
12 years. So, still
Right.
babies in some aspects. However, I can see seasons
But
now. So I'm
yep.
like, this season is
Yep.
different than that season is different than this season. So right now, what is tricky and I'm anticipating is going to be tricky this year is actually the focus thing. And that hasn't been as difficult in the past because Evan and I are both adults. We love Jesus. And like we understand.
Yeah.
What I'm feeling is frankly from the culture. And I don't want to over spiritualize it, but I'm just
Yes.
becoming more aware of the fact that, hey, the enemy has a dog in this fight too. So as I
Yes.
am teaching my son about the Lord and helping him to frame his ideas about the holidays, I'm not the only one trying to indoctrinate him. And that has
Right.
been jarring, just to be
Isn't
frank with
that?
you. It's
Yes. I
crazy.
want us to be frank. I mean, that's
Uh-huh.
the whole point. I want us to
Yeah.
be real with each other.
So that's been really interesting because I'll say things to him like even last year we were talking a little bit about Santa, and in our house we don't believe in Santa, but we don't vilify him. It's just like he's a character and we
Exactly.
move on.
Exactly.
And
Right.
so I was trying to help him to understand,
That's a
where
good
to
way to put
place
it.
Santa and then where to
Mm.
place ideas about Jesus and like the reason we're doing this. But it was
Mm.
so difficult because Santa
Mm.
is on the throne of so much that happens in Christmas. Even
Mm.
though I wasn't presenting those ideas or glorifying
No.
those ideas, it was just really hard for me to even keep the
Mm.
conversation on the right track because
Mm.
there were just so many
Mm.
other ideas in his mind from,
Well, and
going
especially if you
before.
go out in public,
Mm.
what are people gonna talk to a little child they don't
Oh,
know? What are they gonna
always.
talk to them about at
What
Christmas?
is
Yeah,
Santa
what's
bringing
Santa
What
you?
is
bringing
Santa
you?
gonna bring you? And my girls, because we kinda did the same thing,
Yeah.
we did not pretend that Santa was real.
Mm.
We said these
Yeah.
it's based on a real
A
person,
real
Saint
person.
Nicholas, we
Yeah.
said, but it is not Santa that brings the presents. So they knew all that stuff. And they
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. They would go to church, and little old
Mm.
ladies would say to them as
Yeah.
preschoolers, "What's Santa gonna bring you?" And they would
Yep.
just look at me like, "She is speaking another language. What am I supposed to do with this?" And I would just
Yeah.
look at them and say, "She means, what would you like for Christmas?
Right.
What do you hope that you're gonna get as a Christmas present?" And they're like,
It's true.
"Oh, okay, well, I can answer that."
I can answer that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. So yeah, I definitely I'm trying to figure it out. It's my first time, that's what we
I
keep saying.
know.
It's my
Well,
first
the
time.
first
I
time
don't
with a
know.
child who really does have some
Yes.
cognition of what's going on and he's
Yeah.
listening, but you just think, when are you gonna be old enough to understand the balance
Mhm.
of things, you
True.
Right.
know?
Because on the flip side, I guess because your kids are both of your children, your sets of children are so much older. You've navigated this one. But on the
Mhm.
Yeah.
flip side, I have to be so careful for those in the boat with me about what I
Yes.
say because he will say what I say.
Mhm.
And I don't want him to be like me. You know, you guys can go listen to the episode. I won't tell the story, but there's an episode of Blessings in Motherhood where I air out all my dirty laundry, and I was not that kid you wanted in the class because I was
Oh,
going
my
to tell the
word.
truth.
You
So
just told everything you knew, did you,
yeah,
Delise?
That is so funny.
and I don't want him to do that to kids. So it
Right.
Yeah.
wasn't a good feeling. So all that
Yeah.
to say, I'm trying to walk it with grace. But he's already asking me questions about, things that you see in Lowe's and well, where
Yes.
are all of those, like even with Halloween, like just he's
Oh, my
got a
gosh.
framework in his mind for this whole
Yes.
holiday season. So that's the trick.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, it is the
Yeah.
trick. How to talk to them. I know. There's so many things that I would love for us to chase. But you're right. You're absolutely right. You teach what you want your child to know in the home, but then you also have to teach them it is not actually your job to police what your
Bingo.
friends believe.
I was gonna
You
say
are
that too.
not the
Mhm.
town crier or the nightly news
Mhm.
person. You
Okay.
do not, because
Mhm.
we had one that would, I mean, she was pretty convinced that she knew all the things that people ought to know. And if they looked like they didn't know, she would step in.
Oh
And
my
so we
goodness.
just said to her, it is not your job to
Right.
tell
Mhm.
people about
Mhm.
Santa. You can tell
Mhm.
anybody you want to about Jesus. It is not your job
Yeah.
to tell
Yep.
anybody what
Mhm.
you know or believe about Santa.
Mhm.
And if pressed, we just said it is never your job to say that he's not real because
Right.
you don't know what their parents have told them. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
the only time I know she ever told an older child, like 3 years older, had backed her in the corner and would not stop until she
Oh,
just finally thought, okay, sister, I'm going to give it to you.
I'm gonna give it.
And
Bless.
They
then
were
it's
asking for
like,
it.
I'm sorry, your child
Yep.
crossed a
Asked for
line and
this.
she just got more of the truth than she needed to have. So there it is.
Oh
Uh,
goodness.
so
I
have you
think
had those issues crop up, Alicia?
for me, I mean, a little bit. I was going to say, I think some of the tricky times for us happened more when our kids were younger
Uh-huh.
because we were navigating what are we going to focus on in our family,
Yes.
what's important to us, and other families were doing the same thing, and so friends didn't always, see it the same way, and so
Everybody
we
doesn't
have
come down in the same way. Mhm.
right, exactly, and same even within our families. I'm real thankful, like our kids. I would say for the most part in our family, like their cousins largely kind of do the same things that we do and have a lot of the same traditions that we do. And so that does help it be easier. But I would say even when our kids were really young though, it became that whole, okay, are we going to still travel during the holidays? Do we still go to somebody else's house? Or is this when we stay at our house and start our own traditions? And we kind of dug in and did that early.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that was a little bit tricky to navigate those first few years, but thankfully grandparents in our family have been very, very understanding
That is
and gracious.
tricky. I saw
I'm
you shaking
thankful.
your head, Delise. Has that been a tricky
Mhm.
thing for
Yeah,
y'all?
you're right there, aren't you?
I have the beautiful benefit of being the third child.
So
So
other
Others
people
have
had to
navigated.
navigate this
That's
first.
great.
exactly, I just live in the wake of everyone's,
Hmm.
discoveries, and
That's
it's
so
great.
lucky.
So yeah, we stay put, and I've heard that. I've heard that that's very difficult, and I hate to say, I've heard that from afar, but
It
it
Right.
was
hasn't been.
harder when we lived in town and could have gone to both, like in the same town with both
Mm,
sets of
Yes.
parents.
wow.
However, that was also at a time when we didn't have children and we
Yeah.
could be more flexible.
It
Ever
Yes.
makes a
since we've
huge
had
difference.
kids,
Different
exactly, we've
season.
just said, "Hey, we love you. We'd love to see you." We'll see you.
Come.
Yep.
Yep, here
Come.
we are.
You're invited.
Come
Exactly.
and
Yep.
view us if
Yep.
you would
Yep.
like.
Yeah, and we do Christmas Eve. So we'll give them a little bit of Christmas
Mhm.
Eve, but Christmas Day, if you want to see me, I'll see you at whatever time you tell me you're coming.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I
Yeah.
know that we likely have lots of listeners who
Mhm.
are navigating it maybe for the first
Mhm.
time or in the early years of how do you decide? Are we going to my
Mhm.
family's for Christmas? Are we going to my husband's family? And how do we divide it out? And it, you know, we came to that as our girls got
Mhm.
married. It had to
Mhm.
be so what's going to happen? And
Mhm.
um, my
Did you
my
have those conversations early?
we
Or
did. We actually
Mhm.
did. Um, the when my older daughter got married, she married the youngest of 6 kids.
Wow.
And so they had it's kinda like you said, Delise, somebody else has already worked through this. They
Yeah.
had this thing where, they they had an in-law and an outlaw, okay?
Yep.
So, if the in-laws got Thanksgiving, the outlaws got Christmas, and the
Mhm.
next year it flipped.
Mhm.
And so, my son-in-law's mom, we were friends because my older daughter married her Challenge 4 buddy. They were
Oh,
not
I
dating
love
in
it.
Challenge 4, but afterwards. So the mom I was friends with his mom, and she said, "This is our schedule. Do you think we can get on that schedule?" And I said, "Yeah, we will jump on your train." And so
That's
if they
helpful.
have Thanksgiving with the Meters, then they have Christmas with
Mhm.
us, and we know that the next year it will flip. And so
Look at that setting expectations, though. I mean, that's what you were
yes,
talking
that's
about earlier.
exactly right.
How valuable that you all were able to kind of catch that on the front end before that became a tricky situation.
I know. And then, as soon as grandchildren come into the mix,
Mm,
then
yeah.
it becomes really a deal, especially if there is long distance travel
Mhm.
involved. And I
Well,
think a lot of families will
mhm.
do the either or. Yes, we'll travel, but as soon as you have kids, you begin to second guess that. I mean,
Mm.
your kids wake up and they want to see their own Christmas
Yeah,
tree.
for sure.
Mhm.
And they want to open their own presents and play with their presents in their pajamas. They don't really dig anymore being drug around in the car.
Right.
So that's
And neither does their mama. I
yeah,
mean, let's
I
be real.
know. And
I
so
did not.
that's something I guess what we're saying is that you need to go ahead and have the conversation early. Just go ahead
Mhm.
and bite the bullet. Don't wait till November
Mhm.
and don't wait till a real emotionally charged moment to make that proclamation. Don't make the decision that you're staying home for Christmas from now on and save that to be the post turkey bombshell for everybody. Go ahead and share it when there's still some months to get used to the
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm.
What would you say to that, guys?
Yeah, well, and I think I agree with what you're saying, and there's something so beautiful that I guess I just want to put a magnifying glass on it that you just
Yeah.
said, which is that if you can, like as the in-law or outlaw,
Mhm.
try to have that conversation with the other in-law or outlaw so
Yes.
Mhm.
everyone's on the same page. I loved that you weren't putting your child in the middle of making a choice.
Yes.
It was like, let's all kind of figure out what we are doing because now we are a family.
Yeah.
And that is honestly the reason why it just hasn't been as stressful for me, just to be
Isn't
honest,
that
because my family
beautiful?
has that structure. It was, everybody's family is different, but I'm just saying in my home, when you get married, then that other person's family is now your family. So we
Yeah.
all are trying to make those decisions. And that doesn't mean that we
Yes.
do everything together. It's just to say there is a choice to not alienate or,
Yes.
again, put that one person on the spot, and you have to be proactive to your part, to your point. You
Yeah.
have to be proactive
Yeah.
about that, but the benefits are, I mean, enormous, truly, for the person in the
Mhm.
middle. So I think that's
Mhm.
great that
Mhm.
you did that. Have you ever wished that you could just help your student continue the momentum that they started in classical conversations in a college environment? Guess what? Judson College is exactly what you've been looking for. This semester, Judson College is sponsoring the Everyday Educator, and we are so excited to partner with them because we really believe that they have exactly what our students could need for the next leg of their education journey. Let me tell you more about it. So Judson College really values Christian education, and they exist to equip students who want to give their lives for the cause of Christ, wherever he might call them. So that means that they're not just helping students who want to go into vocational ministry, but also students who want to live in the marketplace. Judson College also has a specific community plan for their students. They have smaller class sizes that allow students to have individual relationships with the faculty, and that also helps them to get the attention that they need so that they can learn and grow as professionals. Outside of the classroom, they also have what they call the house system, and that provides a vibrant student-led community where students make lifelong friendships and participate in house competitions and experience deep community all the way from freshman year to graduation. Lastly, something I found absolutely fascinating was that they have a classical emphasis. So they have a great books course, which is required for every single degree in undergrad. And in that course, they focus on the history of human ideas through a biblical worldview. And that allows the students to develop as readers, writers, and researchers as they grow as committed followers of Christ. If you want to find out more about Judson College, visit judsoncollege.com/distinctives. Let's get back to the show.
Do y'all ever face challenging family encounters around the holidays? I mean, most families have that one relative or that one topic that we know would probably be better avoided in heated moments.
Good.
How do you navigate when you know there are hot button issues or that select guests will have a very different opinion of something from other people? Do you avoid it? Do you say something in advance? Do you just pray extra on those days? What do y'all do?
I think my first thought is you bathe it in prayer. Absolutely. I mean, that's the necessary thing, right? And I will give the caveat that I'm really grateful the Lord has given us, I guess, a peaceful family situation where we don't easily. And I mean, I have a lot of friends who do have those regular situations where they get together with
That's
family.
what I was
And
gonna say. I have lots of friends who
I
navigate
definitely think
this.
that's a more common story than not. I'm very thankful that that's not our normal. But we're also not actually with as many people, usually over Christmas, especially. Like Thanksgiving, sometimes we are.
Yeah.
Aunts and uncles and cousins. It kind of depends on how things are rolling. But in the given year, we're not together as much as we used to be in the past just because of family dynamics, but with caring for elderly parents. But there are more people together at Thanksgiving, I would say, than at Christmas. Christmas, it usually is with our family and maybe grandparents. And that's been very pleasant. Yeah. But I would say when we are with extended family, of course, there are more opportunities for hard things to come up. And I would say on the whole, we just go in praying for it. Go in, especially being prayerful for those who don't know the Lord. I have a few cousins who I'm not sure that they really know Jesus, or they're certainly not close to him. And so I think going in prayerfully, and then even regarding any hot button kind of topics, also praying for those. Lord, are these important to talk about? Are these things that we can overlook, that we can agree to disagree? Is this somewhere where I can put on display that I can disagree with you, but I love you, and I want you to know that I love you. So is it that kind of a case, or is this one of those cases where like we need to sit down and have a serious chat and talk about something during this time? And again, that needs a whole lot of prayer and prep, before that too. So those would be my thoughts. Right now, the only, I think, really pressing kind of challenging thing in our family deals with caring for elderly. people in our family, my husband's granddad is up in his 90s. He's 95.
Wow.
And his two daughters, so my mother-in-law and her sister, care for him pretty much full time. They have one other lady who helps every third day. But I mean, it's 24/7 care
Yeah.
for him, and they
Yeah.
are doing it. And so I think we're all so concerned for them and their health. And so we'll certainly bring up when we feel like it might be received, being able to talk about that. But that's thankfully the hardest thing, I think, right now that our family is facing. What about you, Delise?
This is such a good question. I mean, I don't want to give a false impression that, oh, my family's just perfect. We never have any problems.
Definitely not. And we're not either.
No.
We're not either.
Right.
And we
You know.
know that those things crop up in every family.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So that is true that, we have all had our attention. I guess I will say for the most part, I'm trying to, I've been pondering this. Thank you, Lisa, for sending us the questions beforehand. I'm still trying to ponder and figure out, however, if the reason why mostly we don't struggle with this on a holiday is that we've got this silent agreement in our family that that's not what the holidays are for.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
true.
do that lashing out, whatever you got to do, you hashing stuff out on other days. It just usually doesn't fall on that day. I can only think of a few times where somebody had like some huge news that could have been controversial, but even that news was delivered in a really private way because it was a holiday. So I think some of that might just be family culture. And then the other thing is just that we usually have a lot, quote, to do.
Yes. So it's so
There's a
busy.
lot to do besides talk about sensitive topics.
So it's like, sure, we're chatting, whether you're in the kitchen or you're playing games or whatever. But at those times, I think because we all know how badly we want to preserve what has been cultivated for us. I won't say things I've said on previous podcasts. You guys can go listen to that. But those traditions and the things that have been cultivated for us. So we just choose to focus on the things we have in common because we really have an agenda to have a lot of fun. And we know that if we do this, we can have a ton of fun, So it's like, why would I waste my holiday, being mad at you about all the times that we disagree in the ways that, you heard me this way and your kid did that and da-da-da. Like we can talk about that, but I don't want to talk about it today.
Not today. Not today.
I don't want to talk about that. Now, we have to acknowledge that we can all come in with those high ideals. There are people that won't play with us, that don't play, that aren't bouncing the tennis ball back into the court. They are just grand slamming you. And so what do? What are ways to love your neighbor and your family well when somebody seems intent on causing controversy or intent on pressing a point or intent on arguing whether or not children should believe in Santa or whether or not your child should dress up as a goblin for Halloween? What do we do when somebody presses the point? Has that ever happened to you, Alicia?
I can't think of a specific instance.
Yeah.
I mean, I've certainly had some conversations with people just about what we believe about different things, whether it's neighbors or friends. But I think I just seek to share, here's our experience and here's our why behind it. But, and I think, I don't know. Come back to me. Delise, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's tricky. I have two perspectives on this. Two very distinct perspectives because of one, my job. So I guess I'll out myself in this moment. What I do for CC is I'm the director of social media. So I have a lot of time to hear people say a lot of strong views when they want
and
to
people will say that stuff on social media because they're invisible.
Exactly. So there's that. And then there's also, back to the context, there's also family context and just when you're together. And we have had a few instances like that. And in both, whether it's a person I'm close to, I guess is what I'm saying, or a
Yes.
person I'm not
Mhm.
close to, the thing I've seen in common is that usually people who are doing that, they really need to be heard. And
That is
so,
exactly what I was thinking.
uh-huh.
Yes.
So I just ask the Lord, and I'm not always kind and gracious, initially, but to help me to see that very clearly, because I'm dealing with a person who's not being heard. And while I
Yes.
might not feel that way personally, because I am heard, it hurts. And so they're in pain, and
Yeah.
they're not in a place where I can convince them or, change their mind, and the Holy Spirit does
Mhm.
that anyway. So this is not the time, basically, is the narrative I have to have. This is not the time to try to change their perspective. This is the
Right.
time to love
Just
them and to let
listen.
them know that they're heard, even if they're
Yeah.
wrong, which I just told you guys earlier that my my nature is to be like, that's
Yes.
wrong,
Yes.
let me
Yes.
tell you the truth.
Um,
Let me unlock this
everything is
fear.
black and white, and if you
Right.
seem confused, I'll show you which is which. Yes.
Uh-huh. So that doesn't come very naturally to me, but I've learned, I guess, the hard way that in those moments, those people just need to be loved by being listened to. And that is more productive. And they might actually ask you their opinion and ask you your opinion.
Yeah.
You listen. But if you're
Yes.
just shutting it down and you don't want to hear anything they have to say because you know that they're wrong, it's not going to be very productive, and it'll probably take a lot more time away from the
Well, and it's
fun.
not very loving. I think that
Yeah.
you hit on it. The way to love somebody is to give them some of what they need, and most people just need to feel that um, they're getting a fair hearing and that you are willing to give them some of your time.
Mhm.
And hearing them does not involve just nodding your head until they stop talking so you can have your turn.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Hearing them means letting them actually say all of the things and then reframing, "Well, what I heard you say is this," or asking them a question about what they believe and why that shows you actually did hear and you're wrestling along with them. Sometimes people share their belief in a very strong and strident way, and they don't feel nearly that settled about it. Sometimes they are just putting out there to see what somebody else will say. Is there a reason? Could you help me not believe this? I remember teenagers. That's what I used to tell parents who freaked out with their teenagers. They are telling you the most outrageous thing they've heard. Somewhere inside, they know this is not right, but they don't know how to refute it. So they're going to say it to you and see what you'll say because that's their way of gathering the other side. So something in my spirit feels like this is wrong, but I can't articulate it, but I bet my mama can. So and as long as we don't go head spinning crazy, we can give them a lot of good ammunition for the next time they have that conversation with somebody. And so I think sometimes loving our neighbor means that we listen and we give them thoughtful, soft spoken, reasoned
Mhm.
responses after
Mhm.
wrestling with them, if that's what they demand to do. So,
Yeah. Asking good questions and listening. I mean, yeah, it goes a long way in showing kindness and love and respect. Um, yeah, I 100% agree.
those are great gifts. Those are great gifts to bring into the holidays, into all of the holidays. And, I think we ended up talking about, Christmas and Thanksgiving the most, but a holiday that gets a lot of that kind of just starts it all off is Halloween. And it depends, what does your family do? What does your neighborhood do? What does your church do? What does your CC class do? There are some people that are just absolutely horrified to have children dress up in costumes of any kind. And then there are people that are just like, "Oh, yeah, I trick or treated and I've not turned to the dark side yet, and so we're gonna try it." Where do y'all fall out on that?
Well, I have to laugh. I just have to jump in and say, Lisa, you asked us earlier whether we're holiday people. And I should have asked you to define your terms, because I immediately assumed Thanksgiving and Christmas, Advent, let's go.
I know.
I don't love Halloween. I
There you go.
really just don't. I don't love it at all. But my kids love it. I enjoyed dressing up when I was growing up. And we have the best neighborhood. Wonderful neighbors who are very generous with all the sugar.
Oh
and
my gosh,
my
so do
kids, and I refuse. Y'all can judge me, but I absolutely refuse to buy Halloween costumes. I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's too much money and they're cheap.
Oh, no,
I'm not buying
ours.
them. So we I make ours. Our kids have to put together and pull together whatever they want to do. And they love it. But I loved, so we go, but I hate it. But I was talking with a sweet neighbor who's also in our small group at church. I was talking with her about it a few years ago and was like, I was grumbling all as we're walking around the neighborhood. But two things really were great takeaways for us. One is our neighborhood is a place where the light of Christ is really needed. And there are very few times of the year when we see a lot of these neighbors, but Halloween is one of them. They come out.
Yeah.
They come out and they set up their table at their end of their driveways to hand out candy. And so it makes it so easy. So that is one of the best times to interact with neighbors in our community. Yep. And number two, she also said something about how, just notice though, that there's light, like whether it's out of the jack-o'-lanterns, it's, and I hate all the I hate all the scary. I just really don't like it. Yeah. But she said, but watch, like this is a place for light to shine in darkness, literally and figuratively.
Wow, that's a great
and I thought that was a really good takeaway.
Yeah, that is good. I think that Halloween is way more polarizing than Santa or not Santa.
I think so too.
You know?
I think so.
Delise, what do y'all do? Well, do you do anything? Is Leo too young to be into it?
So again, go listen to these other episodes.
You've already talked about this.
I'm not going to tell stories that you guys have heard before, but I will quickly say, I have a child who is just, let's use the word fascinated. He's fascinated by anything that gets people going, which is a very boy thing.
Oh my word.
And so I, like you, Alicia, I hate it. I'm like, I don't like this holiday. And I don't have anything to do with this holiday. And also the way I was raised, like we had a lot of fun during that time, but we did fall fests and just things that were very
harvest carnivals, not Halloween parties. Yeah.
So I never really needed or felt like it would be more fun to go trick-or-treating growing up. So in my mind, I guess is what I'm saying, when I was trying to decide what does our family do for the first time, I just thought, okay, we would do that. Well, guess what? I go to a church that doesn't do that. So now
that's
and I don't live in a neighborhood. I live in the middle of the country. So I'm in this kind of third space with it where he is fascinated by the idea, constantly seeing and hearing the narrative in the culture that this is fun, and me saying like, hey, being a Christian is more fun, and the light shines through the darkness and the darkness doesn't overcome it. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to help him to know that he can celebrate fall and the Lord and his community, and that, dressing up isn't necessarily bad. I do understand the history of it. But we dressed up. Sometimes we were Bible characters. Sometimes I was a fairy. It was just because I liked costumes and it was fine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And for us, it was innocent and not a celebration of evil. But I'm trying right now, because he's so young, to make that real distinction. So I've gotten, I can't even tell you, I couldn't count them on two hands in the past week. So many questions about Halloween because this boy can feel it. He knows.
And, it is July, so Walmart does have their Halloween stuff
there
out.
You go. So he's like, where are the
skeletons? This morning.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, okay, the 4th of July is over. Let's go. Pumpkin.
Oh, yeah. He knows. So again, I guess I hope there's some solidarity there for everyone listening who is just feeling like, okay, it's time already to navigate this thing again.
Yeah.
So I'm praying through it is the answer. And
Yeah.
trying to figure that out, because you guys are right, and it's true that this is a time where you can love your neighbor really well.
Yes.
And that's what I want him to take away from
Yeah.
that time, from
Yeah.
the kickoff of the holidays, which I, like
Yeah.
you, didn't even think about Halloween until
Yeah.
halfway through.
Good. I'm glad I
But
wasn't alone. That's so funny.
yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot. But there's potential there, and I think that I know that the Lord has purpose for that time.
Yes.
So I'm open to exploring what that could be. However, we don't celebrate evil in our house.
Right.
So
We're not
that's where my
celebrating
mind
evil.
is.
No,
How might
definitely
we
not gonna do that.
redeem this? How might this
Yeah.
holiday be
A good
redeemed?
question.
Because I know our girls were kind of like you, Delise. We lived out in the country, and until they were
Mhm.
teenagers, we didn't live in a neighborhood where you would trick or treat.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they loved to dress up. And
Yeah.
like your kids, like the Clark kids, the Bailey kids never had store-bought costumes, partly because Stephanie never wanted to be anything that anybody else would ever have made a
I
costume for.
love it.
I mean, she was a stalk of corn one
I
year. She
love
was
that.
a boot
Now see,
one
that's
year.
a boot?
She
That's
was a
hilarious.
calculator. I mean, there are no
That's
costumes,
awesome.
so we
I
never bought
love it.
anything. But they like to dress up, and what kid does not love candy, right? And so there were ways to redeem it, and love our neighbors as we did it. And really, that's what this podcast has been about. How do we love our neighbor during the holiday season? So, one last chance for you guys. What is one way, Delise, what is one way that you love your neighbors during the holiday season? What is something that you do to them or for them or with them to love them during the holidays?
So I will quickly define term neighbor. In my
Yes.
mind, as I answer this, I am just meaning people in my
Yeah.
sphere. Okay.
In your sphere.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good.
Very
So-
good. And that's what I was going to say. And I
Mhm.
don't necessarily mean just the people that live, a block away from you.
Mhm. Exactly. So I invite. That's the way that I love my neighbors. I mean, truly, we just invite them. If it's to dinner, if it's the holidays can be such an isolating time for people. They're tender, people you love who you've lost come back to the forefront of your mind. And it's really tempting when you're wrestling with that to be alone because you're wrestling. And that's not always the greatest way to process. So I try my best to invite, whether that means I create an occasion or there is an occasion. Like I said, we have a lot of open holidays, and I just say, hey, what are you guys doing? I live in
Yeah,
military
we're
town,
going to be
so-
here.
Yeah, exactly. Just come if you don't have anything, So inviting, I think, is a big deal for the holidays.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Your presence is always a good present to offer somebody. That's really good. All right. What about the Clark family? How do you guys love your neighbors?
I think I would agree with that. In fact, it makes me think about, and we've gotten out of the habit since COVID. We have not done this, but before COVID, we always had an annual Christmas just gathering in our home and invited neighbors to come to that, and some friends too. But maybe we can revamp that again this year. But I think also going into we've mentioned a few times in this podcast episode about intentionality and kind of thinking ahead and planning ahead, whether it's with expectations or planning. But I think also planning in terms of thinking through, who do I know in my sphere who needs a little extra attention in this holiday season? Kind of like what you were saying, Delise, that some people, this is a really hard time of year because of loss or who knows, many different reasons, but kind of thinking through who may be lonely, who may be experiencing a first holiday without a loved one, or, various things like that. And how can we come alongside? Can we bake them a loaf of bread? Can we take them cookies? Can we invite them to a meal? Can we offer to shovel their sidewalks if we actually did get a snow? Just trying to foster this is a wonderful opportunity to think outside of ourselves and look for what good we can do for somebody else.
Yep. I love that. thinking outside of ourselves. We can start now. It's not too early to begin thinking about how to navigate the holidays most beautifully and loving our neighbors most effectively. Thank y'all for thinking about this with us today. If you listeners, if this has scratched your itch, tell somebody else and give them the chance to listen and to begin to wrestle through some good ways to love your neighbor. And we will see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye.